Everyone's like, what's your approach, Scott? How do you work these women? And I'm like, the more pitiful I am, the more the women like me.
And I went and spoke at a rehab hospital, and there's this young guy. We couldn't get him out of the rugby chair when it was time to leave. He's just like, this is great. I want to go hit stuff.
People say some of the dumbest things, like I'll be loading groceries into my car and people are like, do you need help in your car? It's like, well, I wouldn't have come to the grocery store if I couldn't get back in my car.
Remember Ocean's 11? Remember that little Asian guy that gets in that box?
I've actually done more in a chair than I did able-bodied.
We're not going for a hug. We're going for a little milk.
Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. USA!
It's unreal. It's a whole different aspect of being in a wheelchair.
So we're going to talk about Murderball. This is a documentary about a really, really brutal game of rugby played by men in wheelchairs. And we mainly follow this guy, Mark Zupan, one of the top players in the field, and we hear his whole story. And it absolutely works as sort of like an inspirational, like this guy had a tragedy happen to him, and he rebuilt his life, and he has excelled and overcome. And this is a great story to tell, and it's like, you know, the classic template, you know? We're going to see this guy face these problems, overcome them, and excel, and see he can do all of these things even though his body has been broken. And it's true, the movie completely works on that level, and I give it a thumbs up on that level. But here's the thing that I want to say about Murderball that nobody seems to say about Murderball. I'm going to respect Zupan and his buddies enough to be honest with them and say, before they got in their accidents, I don't think I would like any of these guys. And after they had their accidents and overcame these things and got into the rugby, I still don't like most of these guys. In fact, I think they're run on an engine of, for lack of a better term, toxic masculinity, right? It's always a competition. It's always violent. It's always intensely personal. These guys are bullies. They're jock, asshole bullies. These are the guys that used to beat me up when I was a kid. These are the guys that would go 6-on-1 and yell at me until I cried and then laugh at me for crying. And that's the way they were before they got in the chair, and that's definitely the way they are after they got in the chair. So I'm at arm's length from the movie because I can appreciate all that they overcame, and like that they do really tough things, and that they've rebuilt their life, and that they're exceeding, and that they're living their best lives according to them. But I don't think I could stand to be in a room with any fucking one of them. Not one. There's this scene towards the end of the movie where they're like yelling at their former coach about how he's betrayed their country because he's teaching a Canadian team because he couldn't teach any other team and he wanted to teach rugby. And honestly, the bully atmosphere and the jock bullshit, which I've never liked in my entire life, ended up being the over-encompassing thing that I took out of the movie. Like, they used all of their anger and hate and competition, and they used that to overcome their physical disability. And you know what? Good for them. But I don't want to spend any time with them in the real world, and I didn't particularly enjoy spending time with them watching the movie. Is this a personal attack? Is this personal because of my history? Probably. But yes, this was my least favorite of the movies that we were talking about today. Am I completely unreasonable here?
I wouldn't say completely, but I didn't see it that way.
Okay. You glitched out. You said you didn't see it that way, and then nothing happened. Sorry, could you say that again?
I said, and I'm disappointed that I won't get to be the champion again because I did not put this as my least favorite movie.
Alas.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I wouldn't want to hang out with them either. But I didn't see their attitudes necessarily as coursing through their entire personalities or personas.
Right.
Like to me it wasn't that strong. To me, that was focused on the sport and on winning and being, you know, like rah, let's win, you know, trash talk, all of that stuff.
Right.
So to me, that's kind of where it was. And, you know, like, yes, they were, you know, that guy's one friend was like, Mark is an asshole.
Yeah.
He was an asshole. But, like, they say that. They say that straight out.
Yeah.
Right? But it's, I don't know. Like, I don't think we get enough of their personalities to make the determination that, you know, all of them are terrible, shitty, horrible people and have nothing to give the world.
Right.
You know, like, I didn't think it went that far. But again, I wasn't looking at it through that lens.
Right.
And I was kind of distracted by the coach. He looks a lot like Michael Ironside, did you think? Like,
yeah, no, I definitely see that.
it's weird. It was weird. But no, and I found that the USA-Canada rivalry thing, yeah, it's over the top and stupid, and like normal people don't talk that way. But this is in the context of sport and winning. So to me, like within that context, I was willing to go with it, and I liked the structure of the story. You know, going between the personal accounts of how they got injured and how they were rehabilitating themselves and discovering the sport, and you know, the progress toward the teams towards the Paralympics in Athens and stuff like that. So, you know, like I was interested in that story.
No, and it is compelling. I started off being really...
and they were very honest. They were frank.
Yeah.
You know, if they weren't, and it was not sentimental.
No.
At all, you know, and like these guys are aggressive, they're tough, but they're also, you know, like they're
Authentic.
what are they? Yeah.
They're authentic. And I appreciate that the movie doesn't try to sugarcoat it. It would be a worse movie if they were trying to tell me that Mark Zupan, you know, suddenly became a better person because of all of his trials, or you know, used to be an asshole but now has found a truer path. That wouldn't be honest. I appreciate that they're honest about it. And there are things that I really like. His friend who's responsible for the accident, like, he was really, really weirded out about participating in the movie. Like, it was one of those things, like, they finally convinced him to get the footage, but even once they got the footage of the interview, he kept on being wishy-washy about whether he'd let them use it. He finally, eventually let them. That whole aspect of the movie I find incredibly compelling, because he is responsible for this injury. He didn't mean to do it. It was a total drunken, stupid accident. But in the end of the day, he is why this guy's in the chair. He knows it, Mark knows it, and that is a hard thing to deal with. And that aspect of the movie is, you know, obviously really compelling and, like, tough. And again, I appreciate that aspect of it. And I do think it's strangely inspirational. Like, you need to find something within yourself in order to overcome this obstacle. My problem is it's like, this isn't what Mark said to himself, but in my head, this is like the oversimplified version of it. Just because I'm in this chair doesn't mean that I won't be able to physically and psychologically dominate everyone I encounter.
Yeah.
And that personality type is just an instant go fuck yourself to me. Like, I just don't do it, right? And again, the whole sports thing. I am not a sports guy. I have said in the past that movies are my sports. Movies are more dependable than sports. They're like, they'll always be there. They're good games. They're bad games. They're the classics. But I don't dig into the competition end of things. I don't even like watching the fucking Oscars anymore. Like, I don't like the bullshit competition. I don't like the idea that because your team won that game, ergo it is the best team that year. Your movie won Best Picture, ergo it is the best picture made that year. I just don't believe in it as a principle. And to not believe in it as a principle and then see these people fight tooth and nail underhandedly and really, really hurt each other as much as they can physically and emotionally for this completely symbolic victory just has never made sense to me. I think it's stupid. And
Yes, but I agree in principle with what you're saying, like, about the winning and all that.
Yeah.
But when you look at what sport is and what sport does, for little kids and little kids in school, like, not every kid likes sports, and that's fine. But sport itself is beneficial.
Absolutely.
To people, like, are benefiting, at the skills that they're gaining, and like learning about the sport itself and about, the point system of how quadriplegic you can be,
Yeah.
in order to have the players on the floor, like, it doesn't matter if you have one arm that works and one that doesn't, because it depends on how many people on the floor at a time, point value, like all of that stuff is really interesting to learn about. I've never seen a quadriplegic rugby game, and and these people they're playing a game, and yes, it's stupid to put that much value on winning and losing, but it's essentially, sport is not about that, and I think there's a lot more to this culture and this team than what we're shown.
No, absolutely.
And it really is the focus on the rivalry and, the macho-ness and the bitterness. But I really don't believe in my heart that that's what the whole organization is for or is about.
You get incrementally better as you do things. You're not very good. You get more and more comfortable. And especially if you're coming from this place where your body was broken and you're relearning how to use it, it's all the more powerful. But to me, because I don't give a shit about sports, that's not the stuff that spoke to me. Honestly, like when they were talking nuts and bolts about their sex lives, for instance, like that's intensely personal and, maybe over the line, but like they were willing to talk about it. They did. They were very frank about it. And it was interesting to learn. Like, I guess part of me just assumed that if you couldn't walk, you couldn't have sex, but that's not necessarily true. And, so that they do have partners and they do, have that aspect to their life. And they do brag about it like douchebag jocks would, right? But
whereas, this movie refutes stereotypes about disabled people. Okay, it doesn't refute stereotypes about bullies.
That's right.
But, Monster Camp reinforces stereotypes about gamers and about, so it's just interesting.
Well, and I guess I feel more affection to the gaming world than I do the rugby world. One more comment, and again, I feel like I'm being a super asshole, and this is the most asshole thing I'm saying in this whole thing, but they keep on going on about how this is the most brutal, like, high-speed collision crash, like, painful sport there is. But if everybody on your team is literally already paralyzed, most of them don't feel anything from the waist down, shouldn't that take away some of the badassery? Am I being a total asshole here? But like,
that hadn't even occurred to me, to be honest.
They're so fucking macho about it. Oh man, I just plowed into that guy. Yeah, you did. Neither of you felt anything, right?
Yeah, but if they fell out of their chair and fell on their head, like, that would hurt.
Of course there's risk, but you know what I'm saying, right?
I do know what you're saying, and that had not occurred to me, but still,
it's a thumbs up review. It's just out of this list of movies, it didn't connect with me as much. It's the problem very well might be me.
No, everything you're saying is valid. I just don't think it's as all-encompassing. I don't feel that it's as all-encompassing as you do.
Fair enough.